you guys, everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here, A Sky Full of Stars. I saw that. I may need to make my intro longer. I don't know what to do about YouTube with all these ads. I've had to go back in the lives, like after the live uploads, and remove ads because YouTube puts so many ads in our videos. But I'll try to make my intro longer or something like that, just so you guys don't miss the beginning of the live stream. I know those that watch on replay, like they'll get irritated at the countdown because it's too long. But then those that watch me live, they're like, oh, we got an ad. So we're missing the first 10, 15 seconds of the live stream. Thank you so much. I had a great birthday, you guys, hung out with the family. So we're going to jump right in to discuss this video today, today's topic, because it's wild. Hey, Mama P. It's wild because a couple of days ago, Caitlin from Team Mom, she made a post on her Instagram, I think it was, where she said that they recently got the full file, their full adoption file with everything, with all the documents, with everything that they signed. And she said that she was shocked, that she was blown away by it. Now, Caitlin has been in contact with another creator. This creator is on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, but mainly on TikTok. And Caitlin has actually joined this creator's live streams a couple of times while this creator is on TikTok and answered a lot of questions. And she did that recently after she got her full file. She did it again. And she explains that the contract we saw Dawn present them with on the show a few years back was actually their first contract that they signed when they were still pregnant, when they wanted a semi-open adoption, which, you know, would make a lot of sense because her and Tyler seemed really confused when they were like, wait, what? Like, we signed a contract, even though we wanted an open adoption, like this is what we signed. Like, it doesn't really make sense. You could tell that Caitlin and Tyler were confused when they were reading that contract, but it's because they later went on to sign an open adoption contract that stated much more. And that's what they were remembering. Like, as far as Caitlin and Tyler remembers, you know, they get pregnant. They know they have nothing to offer a baby. They know they can't take care of a baby. They know they're in no position to bring a child into the homes they live in. So adoption is, you know, obviously where they're leaning. Now, when they went in, the very first time that they went in to speak to Dawn, Dawn told them, you are in the driver's seat of this adoption. This adoption will be the way you want it to be. You know, Ginger says, I was adopted at birth and it was an open adoption. And yes, this is exactly how it works. How does it work? Ginger, tell me, kind of, can you give me, I may not be in the comments a lot. Here's the thing. The contracts they signed with the adoption agency are not legally binding, but I think they believed what their adoption counselor was telling them. I think they trusted Dawn when Dawn said, you can do it this way. If you want an open adoption, you can have an open adoption. No one ever told them open adoptions are not legally enforced. So when they were signing these documents, you know, they thought this is what they could get. But when they went in for the first visit with Dawn asked what they wanted. And at that point, they wanted a semi-open adoption. Now, Kate did do an interview, and we're going to get to that interview in a little bit. We're going to listen to several clips from the interview where she goes over things like the blanket that she sent. She talks about that because that's been a point of contention that people have with her sending gifts, and the fact that she sent a blanket to Carly that had her and Tyler's children's face on it to Carly. She also talks about how Carly has called Caitlin and Tyler's other children her sisters for years, since Nova was born. And it was never an issue until the last visit. She talks about how, you know, this 5-year thing that everybody, you know, we all thought, wait, 5 years, right? She talks about how actually that's not the case. The 5 years was in reference to a photo. It was only in reference to a photo that Tyler wanted. And that was also when they wanted the semi-open adoption. She also talks about how she never broke any boundaries with them, that they were that Tyler posted one photo of Carly face forward and Teresa got upset. So from that point on, they only posted photos that was approved by Brandon and Teresa. Also, what I noticed is when I was just today, I noticed this. I was looking for photos of Teresa and Caitlin and Tyler, Brandon and Teresa, like all together. And I noticed there's several photos of them up with Carly facing forward. So it seems like they were fine, they were fine with Carly's picture being out there and her face being out there. Probably she turned until she turned about 4, because that may be the latest that I could see. So I could understand the confusion if you're appearing on magazines with your bio child, her parents, and you're appearing in pictures on magazines, or they're posting them and they're allowing you to post them, or they're all over the internet of her facing forward, and then you post one, later, and they're like, "Whoa, don't do that." Then you're like, "Oh crap, okay, my bad." But she said that as far as like bounce, she talks about all of this, and I'm not going to play all of it because it's not my video, it's not my interview to play, but I do have the entire interview, and she's done 2 interviews with this creator, and this creator has put them on YouTube. But one thing, thank you guys so much, everybody that's coming in saying happy birthday. Thank y'all so much. I do appreciate that. And also remember, I think what I realized with this topic specifically, a lot of people have different opinions about it. Some people have the opinions that Catelynn and Tyler are way overboard, that they're owed nothing. Some people have the opinion that they were, taken advantage of, but that they should still be quiet and wait to see what Carly wants, just out of the pure, like, possibility that this is upsetting Carly for them to speak out as much as they have. There's people that believe that Brandon and Teresa and Dawn completely took advantage of them, and people saying that Carly's gonna, the people's opinions are so broad when it comes to this. So in the chat, you guys, if you leave your opinion and you see somebody's opinion that's different than yours, please don't attack them. Please don't call them dumb. Please don't, just allow everybody to have their opinion as long as it's said respectfully. And thank you guys for the happy birthdays. Thank you. So one thing that I have went back and watched the 16 and pregnant episode a bazillion times at this point, getting clips, getting pictures. I've literally watched it so many times. And the very first time they went in to speak to Dawn, Dawn asked them, "What do you see? Like, what do you see for your adoption? What do you want it to look like?" And this was when they went in and they wanted a semi-open adoption. And Kate said, "I want to be able to send gifts. I want to be able to send letters, like, because I know I'll do those things. So I want to be able to do those things." And Dawn told her, "You are in the driver's seat of this adoption. This adoption will go the way that you guys want it to go." So I do think, this is my personal opinion, that Dawn was she just wasn't truthful to them. Adoption does not go the way the birth parents want it to go, because to adopt, for you to put your child up for adoption, you have to sign away. You have to completely relinquish your parental rights, your legal rights. Any right that you have to this child, you have to give them up. You relinquish them. So it doesn't matter if you sign a contract with an adoption agency saying you want this and this and this and this and this. It can't be enforced. Because you no longer have any rights to that child. And the people that stepped up and signed in as their parents, they have all the rights, and they can tell you, "Sorry, you're going to have nothing to do with this child." So I feel like Dawn was very, like, conniving in the fact that she was not open to them, that she did not tell them. The fact that she went overboard by saying, "This looks the way you guys want it to. This adoption will be how you want it to be. You're in the driver's seat of that." I feel like she should have never told them that, because they're 2 16-year-olds who have no parental guidance. They have no decent raising. They are very naive, very immature at this point, and they are believing this woman who's sitting behind the desk of an adoption agency who has years behind her belt doing this. So they believe every word that she speaks. They are believing her. So they come in there, knowing that they don't want to close adoption. Like, they knew that from jump. That was always said, that they knew they did not want to close adoption. And I just feel like if Dawn would have told them the truth, they may would have taken a different approach. I don't know. Like, they may have would have found a family member that could have adopted her. That way they were ensured the ability to be able to, watch her grow up, or get, have some sort of relationship with her as she grows up. So I definitely feel like the adoption agency, Dawn, is a lot at fault here for not being honest with them. And it wasn't that she wasn't even honest. She went above and beyond to make this happen, to make this adoption carry through so Brandon and Teresa could have a baby. And that's another thing is Brandon and Teresa. Thank you, Toasted. I'm not sure. I'm not sure when the next Janelle video is, but thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you. That's another thing is Brandon and Teresa have been with this agency for a while trying to get a child. And they had not succeeded because they wanted a closed adoption. Well, I don't understand why Dawn ever sent their profile book home with Caitlin and Tyler, because Caitlin and Tyler was very open about what they wanted, and Brandon and Teresa were very open about what they wanted, and they wanted different things. So I feel like Dawn really wanted, like the profiles that she sent with Caitlin and Tyler were probably some that had been with the agency for a while, and she really wanted to find those couples a baby because they had been with the agency for a while waiting for a child, right? Either way, Dawn, I feel like definitely failed them by being dishonest about what adoption actually is in regards to legally. You're signing away your rights. You're relinquishing your rights 1,000%. You have nothing else to do with the child if the adoptive parents say you will have nothing else to do with the child. So that was when they went in for the semi-open adoption. Now, and then they signed the contract that we see that Dawn presents them with on the show later on. That was the contract they signed when they wanted the semi-open adoption, according to what Kate says. Kate says at the hospital, after she had the baby, they completely redid the contract, stating they wanted an open adoption. They wanted yearly visits. They wanted this. They wanted that. So we're going to listen to some of the interview. This right here is where she talks about the 5 years. She talks about people bringing up this 5-year thing and what it really meant. So we'll go ahead and listen. And this is Reality TV with Rei. You can find her on TikTok. She just started a Facebook page, so go follow her on Facebook. And then she has this YouTube channel, and I have it linked in the description.
Keep on saying like, oh, it was only supposed to be open for 5 years, yada, yada, yada. Well, Rei, I know that you can vouch for me too, because I sent it all to you yesterday, that what I found for my case notes and everything, that is not what we agreed upon. We agreed upon a certain picture for 5 years, up to 5 years, but it also stated visits and all the way up until she's 18 years old. So, yeah, I don't know. And I think what people think is that like I have asked B&T millions of times. I have asked them like, hey, is this Carly wanting it? If it is, I understand. I would fully respect that. And all of you guys would not hear shit from me about it because I respect Carly. She's my birth daughter. I would respect that and know it's too hard. So believe me, I've asked, and they just would ignore me and ignore me and ignore me and then finally block me. So it's like, come on now, seriously.
And this is what I was saying, you know, from the beginning, it was always like this hush hush, stay quiet, you know, you can't say anything, you have to stay quiet, right? And then we'll have this, we'll keep this relationship going. And it seemed like throughout the entirety of the show, you were like, I don't give a shit about anything that's going on. I want to play cool so I could have a relationship with Carly. Yeah. And it seemed like it didn't matter what you did or how far you went to try to appease, because it was still it was going to be up to her and her decisions alone anyway.
Yeah, so I think what happened is, and a lot of the times birth parents and adoptees feel very silenced by adoptive parents because for birth parents, it's like they hold all the power. They, can take them away at any time. And so, yeah, for many, many years, I always put myself in their shoes. I would not ask questions. I would not share my deep, true feelings. And then obviously when I literally went online, I don't even know, like a year ago, and literally all I shared was my feelings. Mm-hmm. I didn't call them out of their names. I didn't call them anything derogatory or anything.
Okay, so right here, she says when they pretty much got kind of cut off from any kind of communication from Teresa really responding was when she was asking about a visit and Teresa wasn't responding at first. So she asked again, like, what about a visit? And Teresa finally said, we don't think we're going to do any more visits. So her response right after that was she jumped on social media and she made a post saying like, you say, I gave you one of the greatest gifts ever, and you said you would always be appreciative of that. You said you would always love me for that. Um, but how do you love somebody if you can't even give them a day out of the year of your time? Like, do you really love me? It makes me feel used because I just gave you a baby. So she made that post after Teresa told them that there would probably be no more visits. So that's when she's saying, then that's when things really got cut off, is after that. I'm gonna skip because I don't want to show her whole video. I'll be out in just a second, baby. I don't want to show her whole video, so we're gonna skip over. But she says, because a lot of people was like, maybe it has something to do with the OnlyFans, and she was like, no, problem started before the OnlyFans. We actually had our visit, like our last visit was after his OnlyFans. So she says she doesn't think it's the OnlyFans because they've never brought it up. They had the last visit after the OnlyFans. So it started getting rocky before it, but they did have their last visit before, after the OnlyFans came out. So here she talks about boundaries, and we'll play that really quickly.
Saying like, a lot of the comments that I'm seeing is like, they broke boundaries. And I've written some people and I'm like, please tell me the boundaries. I would love to know what boundaries that they given me that I broke. The only boundary that they ever told me was not to read their text messages word for word. I could summarize them, but don't read them word for word. Mm-hmm. That was the only boundary I've ever had. See, when it comes to posting pictures of her, mm-hmm. Years ago, the first time when like Nova and Carly met, so Nova was only like 9 months old, there was a picture of Carly with Nova, and it was Carly's back of her head. And I asked Brianna and Teresa, I said, hey, would you guys care if I shared this picture? Their response to me was like, hey, listen, as long as it's not giving away what she looks like and it's the back of her head, those pictures are fine to share. Right. Okay. So for years, that's all I've shared. You can look, it's always been pictures of the back of her head. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I was allowed to do that. I mean, you can go back and watch the conversation we had with Brianna and Teresa when Tyler posted like a video and it had all these different pictures of Carly. Yeah, we talked about that when we had that meeting, and we apologized, and then we moved forward from that. So it's like, what boundaries? We're allowed to talk about our story on television, which happens to be adoption. Mm-hmm. And we shared pictures that we are allowed to, that we had permission to share. Like, what boundaries are people fucking talking about? Because we're not their children, and we have never disrespected or broke boundaries.
I think people are saying boundaries in the sense of, because they think that you were told not to talk about them at all.
It's not true.
Okay. That
is not true.
Yeah.
I mean, do people forget that it all started following my adoption journey? And an adoption journey is literally for life. Right. Of course, the show is hello. Like, of course, the show is going to show other sides of my life and other things that my kids are doing, but also it's also going to show my adoption journey too. Like, hello, do people forget where it all started from?
Right. And that was the point. And that is why I remember Tyler specifically saying, like, this is why we're doing this. This is how this started to begin with, was because we gave her up or put her up for adoption. So why wouldn't we talk about it when this is why we started this to begin with?
Right. Yeah. And I also see people who say like, oh, well, it's like a co-parenting situation, or what did you think they were babysitting for 18 years? And it's like, if every single person just took 5 minutes and educated yourself on adoptees and what they go through, you would learn that they are more mentally healthy, they feel more secure, they are emotionally healthier when they are involved with their biological families. It's proven 100 times over. So no, it's not like I'm wanting them to babysit my kid or co-parenting. Absolutely not. I want Carly to be the most well-rounded, stable, emotionally okay adoptee as possible, because adoption is trauma. And if her bio family being involved helps kind of not take away the traumas, but helps lessen them a bit, where she doesn't have as many questions as adoptees in closed adoption, then that's
okay. So she says there, like, you know, per their research, Caitlin and Tyler, per their research, they said that they find that adoptees that have more of a relationship with their bio parents seem to do better off later on. That per their research, that's not saying that all do, but some do, because you get to. I watched this video too the other day where a girl said, you know, when you're growing up and your parents have other children that are their biological children, you will hear them as well as other family members say, like, oh, you get your hair from your dad. Oh, you act just like your dad. Oh, you act like your mom, like just like your mom. Oh, you got your red hair from your mom. But when you're an adoptee, like, you don't get those things because, well, you're not really their child. She said, but if you have adoptive parents that will do those things, and like, you know, your parents, your birth parents a little bit, and you have, because you kind of feel lost, like, where do I belong? I don't have any of these things with these, you know, with my parents, because they're not my, you know, we don't share the same DNA. She said, but growing up and being able to hear that makes a difference. You know, when your adoptive parents will say, like, oh, you get your generosity from your birth mom. She said it makes a difference in your mental health and it makes you feel like you belong. But that was just the opinion of one adoptee, you know, and that's the thing, is it's so different with everyone. Like, you can have one adoptee in the chat saying, my birth parents meant nothing to me, didn't care, didn't know them, didn't care to know them. My parents, or, you know, are my parents, the ones that adopted me. I don't call them adopted parents because they're my parents. But you'll have other people saying, all I wanted to know growing up was that my birth parents cared about me, and I would have loved for them to try like Kate and Tyler had. So it's so broad on, because everybody has a different personality, everybody has different needs and wants and desires to feel a certain way, you know. So it's so different. So we don't know what Carly wants. Now they have said, I've listened to 2 interviews that Caitlin has given, and she said that they were told that Carly was wanting to spend more time with them, that Carly had asked, can they fly in and spend more time with me? Can they come in so we can spend more time together? Why can't we go there and see them more? So they said that they were told, and she won't say how they got, she was like, we got this information that we weren't supposed to have, that Carly was really interested in seeing us more. And then all of a sudden, like, we just get cut off. So we don't know if this is something that she's chosen. If all of a sudden she went from wanting to see us more and wanting, you know, and wondering why we're not around more and wanting us to be around more, to us doing something that upset her, to her wanting to cut us off. So it's just, I don't know who told them that. She wouldn't say who told them that. I don't know if that's something they heard from Carly, or if maybe, I don't know. I don't know what, I know there's connections, because the son that Brandon and Teresa has adopted was someone that Kate knows. So I don't know if it came through this person. Also, early on in this interview, Caitlin talks about there was a time where they was at a yearly visit, and they were going to be moving to like the park. They were going from one area to another area. So everybody's going to get in their vehicles and go to this other area. And Carly wanted to ride with them. So Carly asked Brandon and Teresa, can I ride with Kate and Ty? And they said no, that they wouldn't let her. So they were like, okay, it's fine. You know, we'll see you when we get there. Not a big deal, whatever. They found out that their son asked to ride with his bio mom, and Brandon and Teresa let their son ride with his bio mom, but didn't let Carly ride with them. So they said, you know, just, it didn't make sense to us, like, why Carly asked to go with us, to ride with us. We're all going to the same location. We're following each other. And they tell her no, but their son asked to ride with his bio mom, and they let him. Like, how does that affect Carly to see him getting to do these things with his bio mom, but they're telling her no? Like, is that affecting Carly? You know, so yeah, I don't know. We're going to continue to listen. Let's see. So yeah, they talked about, she said she doesn't think it has anything to do with Tyler as to why they are blocked or his OnlyFans, because problems started like around right before the 5-year visit was when problems started, and Brandon and Teresa started kind of pulling away and not responding very much and trying to skip visits. And then they had their last visit after the OnlyFans, and nothing was brought up on it. So she said she didn't think it had anything to do with that. Did we listen to the part where she talked about? All right, we'll go back to that in a minute. She did say that they would always have, like, they would never talk bad about Brandon and Teresa and never not have their backs. The only thing that they're upset about is just not having like an explanation of like really what's going on. Okay, then here Kate explains their adoption agreement. So let's go here.
Would you be able to explain what you saw as open adoption? Like what that looked like to you?
Open adoption looked like to me like, text messages, letters, and at least one face-to-face visit a year for 18 years. And that's what we both parties verbally agreed upon and signed upon. So honestly, the only difference between like open adoption and closed adoption is face-to-face visits. That's the only difference. And it's funny because people keep throwing this whole, it was just for the first 5 years. No, you guys, that is wrong. That is wrong. The paper you guys are speaking about was Tyler wanted her in a specific location, a picture of her for the first 5 years because kids change so much in the first 5 years. And also you have to realize too, when we were still pregnant with her, going through the adoption journey, we were kids and we were scared. We thought, at first I was like, I don't even want to see her after I have her. It might be too hard.
Yeah.
I don't want a couple that lives in Michigan because it might be too hard. I don't want to see her. When she was born and I held her in my arms, that completely changed. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, no, I want to hold her. Oh my gosh, no, I want to be able to see her as she grows and not have any what ifs about what does she look like? What is she doing in life? What are her favorite colors? Like, and guess what? In adoption, you're allowed to do that. Dawn always said we can get out the big eraser and we can change what you want your openness to look like.
See what she said, and even who said that? I think Lulu said like it's wrong to go back, like sign a contract and then like go back and redo it. Like you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't be signing like switching the contract over and over and over. But I'm like, yeah, like because this is what you went in wanting. This is what they changed their mind and agreed to. They signed it, and then at the last minute, it was changed. So they either had to say, okay, we're going to agree to something different, or we're going to give up. We thought we were about to get a baby in a week, and now we're not because they've changed the agreement. But Dawn led them to believe this. Like I see so many. That's who I hold responsible for this. I feel like if Dawn would have paired them with someone that wanted an open adoption from the beginning versus parents that wanted a closed adoption, I think it possibly could have went a little bit smoother because Brandon and Teresa wanted a closed adoption. That's what they wanted. And I think they had to change what they really wanted to because they were so eager to get a baby and because Dawn put Brandon and Teresa in a position that she shouldn't have put them in, and she put Kate and Tyler in a position that she shouldn't have put them in. I think Dawn really screwed everybody in the situation. She literally has these kids at 16 years old thinking semi looks the way you want it to look, open looks the way you want it to look. Oh, you want to change it? The day before you hand the baby off? Sure, no problem. She literally says, like, after she had the baby, they redid the paperwork. So there's a clip that we see of them on the show where they're signing paperwork and they're in the hospital. And it's Brandon and Teresa. It's Kate and Ty and Dawn. And Kate and Ty sitting on the bed that she gave birth in. They're still in the hospital. And Dawn's sitting on the other side. And you see them signing this new paperwork. And she said, my mom was supposed to be here to sign the paperwork. But because she's not here to sign it, we're not allowed to hand the baby off in the hospital on the hospital grounds. We're going to have to get off the property of the hospital because they won't allow us to do it since my mom did not sign off on this. So this is the new paperwork that now states yearly visits up until the age of 18. phone calls, letters, all these things that we've never seen this contract, because the one that we saw, according to Kate and Ty, Kate in this interview, according to her, the one that Dawn presented them with on the show was their first contract. And, Rhea even asked, why did she give you an old contract? Did we already listen to that? Look, because Ray asked, well, why did she give y'all the first contract and not the last one? And Kate said, I asked her that. I asked Dawn that. And she said that the files were not kept at location, that their files are kept somewhere else off location, because if you think of it, then their office would be overran with paperwork. She said, I think she gave us that one because Teresa wanted us to see, like, oh, this is what you first signed. And I went back and I watched the clip. And it makes me wonder, because Kate said, have you talked to Teresa? And Dawn said, I talked to her earlier this week. It makes me wonder if Teresa reached out to Dawn saying, Kate's bugging me. Kate's bugging me. She keeps texting me about a visit. She keeps doing this. She keeps doing that. And Dawn says, I need to have a meeting with them and talk to them. And Teresa said, yeah, and show them this. And maybe Teresa sent that first contract, not the last one, because Dawn definitely acted like that was she led them to believe that was the last contract they signed, the last contract they agreed to, and that's what it should have been, versus saying, listen, this is the contract that I got. I don't have all your paperwork, but this is one of the ones that I got. And I think this is from possibly when you were pregnant, when y'all want it semi-open, but this is what we have here. Or why did she bring the last contract, the contract they signed that they thought was their final agreement? You know what I'm saying? But when I went back and watched it, Dawn did say some things that made me believe that she may have known. So we'll listen to this and then we'll watch that interview, that meeting with Dawn and Kate and Tyler, because Dawn said something about like your first contract or what you initially agreed to or something like that.
Anytime.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, that happened when she was born, and we switched it to, nope, now we want an open adoption. We want face-to-face visits for 18 years. We want to be able to send letters and pictures and updates and get letters and pictures and updates too. So I think it's funny that like people talk about that letter that Dawn gave us in the restaurant, but that was the one that we filled out when we were still pregnant. And also we changed it in the hospital.
So why did she give you guys that form if you guys changed it? Why didn't she say like, okay?
I asked her that yesterday, and she said it's because all files are held off of location, because if you think about it, they would be overflowing with paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't have it at that time. But part of me believes too that I think T almost wanted to be like, well, see, this is what you originally wanted. And it was like, yeah, but we changed it and you guys agreed to the changes.
Right. And
okay, so we'll watch this really quickly. This is when Dawn met with them and presented them with, according to what Kate's saying, their first contract they signed, but they changed it.
From B&T at all?
I did. I talked to Teresa this week.
Okay,
you got
yeah,
some
so I
text
texted her.
messages?
Well, no, I texted her still, and she's not really answering.
What were your texts to her about?
It was just about the visit stuff. And I want to physically talk to her on the phone and just say, even if we come out there and I come out to you guys, even if it's just for a day and brunch the next morning.
So what I want to do, what I brought in my phone, you noticed my folder, I brought my folder in. I want to take you guys back to 2009. And I want to show you some things that you signed with me. So this was the foundation of where you started.
That's what she said. That kind of first I was like, whoa, maybe she does know that this was the first, because they went in wanting a semi-open adoption. But at the end, it was changed to an open adoption. So her saying this is the foundation of where you guys started, while I know when I watched this the first time, I didn't catch that part. I didn't catch her saying this is the foundation of where you started. I'm thinking this is the last contract they signed. This is what they all agreed to. This is set in stone. This is what it should have been. This is what they all signed, right? But when I went back and watched it and I heard her say, this is the foundation of where you started, that kind of changes things for me. I'm kind of like, whoa, wait a minute. that means something changed because this is the foundation of where you started, but not where you ended when you were handing your baby off, right? Does anybody else get that? Because that's, yeah, I believe Dawn had to have known. Dawn knew. She did this for years before she did this with Kate and Ty. She knew once they went to court and they relinquished their rights, that it didn't matter what they wanted. It didn't matter what they signed in her office or at the hospital, that Brandon and Teresa could have walked out of that courthouse and never uttered another word to Kate and Ty. And Kate and Ty couldn't have did a daggum thing about it. They couldn't have did anything about it because open adoption is not enforceable.
And yeah, you said no to ongoing face-to-face, and you could request.
Does that even make sense? They said no to ongoing face-to-face when they've been saying all this time they wanted an open adoption. They wanted yearly visits. Which, in my opinion, was why they were so confused. Why they were like, because this is when they went from semi to open. This was their semi adoption paperwork, not their open adoption paperwork.
Visits with the adoptive family in the future to be initiated by Caitlin and Tyler, which is what you've been doing, and at the discretion of the adoptive family as they determine what is in the best interest of Carly. I understand that you're confused.
Exactly. Even if they signed a contract, it does not trump the legally binding adoption paperwork that they signed in front of a judge at a courthouse that says B and T are the parents and Kate and Tyler are not. So that means that Brandon and Teresa has the final say no matter what you sign with Dawn, which is where I feel like Dawn is scummy because she did not say that. Dawn never told them that. Dawn literally had these two 16-year-olds believing that they were going to be, having yearly visits with Carly and that they were an extension to Brandon and Teresa's family all of a sudden, and I feel like she just literally screwed everybody involved because Brandon and Teresa could have waited to adopt a child that the parents wanted a closed adoption and they could have got what they wanted. And then Kate and Tyler could have gotten what they wanted had Dawn not did what she did. That's my opinion. All right, let's see.
You said that you now have, because a lot of people are over here saying like, okay, well, you're just like believing everything, right? But you did say.
I think Carly still could have been adopted. I think she could have been adopted by parents that wanted what they wanted. Because there are parents out there looking to adopt a child that are A-okay with open adoption. There are parents out there that want to do an open adoption. I've seen so many comments of people saying, I adopted and I wanted an open adoption. So I feel like Dawn still could have, put Carly in a great, first off, these people got to have background checks. Like they have to go through all kind of things to make sure they qualify. So she still could have put them with a family that wanted them, that wanted her. Dawn still could have put Carly with a great family. But I feel like she was so eager to place Carly, and for what? The money? Like, what was it? Why? Why did she why did she send their profile home with Kate and Ty, knowing Kate and Ty wanted a semi-open adoption at that point when Brandon and Teresa did not want an open adoption, did not want a semi-open adoption. They wanted a closed adoption,
Caitlin has already stated she got the paperwork. She did. She got the paperwork. I can vouch that she got the paperwork. She did get it.
I got my whole.
So this creator has seen the paperwork as well. Caitlin got the paperwork, and so she's got their final contract, and she actually has let this creator see it just to validate it because, even people in the chat was like, I don't believe there's a second contract. I don't believe they changed it from semi to open. I don't believe there's a second contract. This creator here, to validate it, Caitlin did send it to her so she could see that it was changed to an open adoption. And it did state until Carly was 18 years old, that they would have yearly visits until she was 18 years old.
Whole file finally, like I asked for it. I got my whole file. It shows everything that I signed, everything that I signed, everything.
Mm-hmm. And some people were saying that I guess they were confused as to why you just got the paperwork. I saw some comments about that.
I don't know. I feel like I felt like for myself, I didn't really need it.
I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry if people are being rude. That's one thing that I asked. If you have different opinions, please don't be rude to anybody else.
For a long time, until everything started happening and I started getting more educated about just an adoption myself. And I was like, wait a minute, like, I want to see, like, what did I sign as a kid? What did I sign when I had no legal representation? Like, because I don't remember, you know?
Right.
And also I feel like I blocked a lot of stuff out too. But so I was like, I want to see, what did I even sign? What did it say? Because I didn't have any adult going over anything with me. Literally, it was just like verbal word for word. And I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Right.
Believing all these adults around me. And so I want to have it. I want to keep it. I want it for myself. I want it so that way one day, if Carly ever comes, I can show her things. We can talk about things. Yeah. And plus it's mine. So now I'm like, well, now I want it.
No, yeah,
Okay, so after that, she does talk about like legal representation. They did get a guardian ad litem the day they relinquished their rights. So 30 days after Carly was born, they had a court date. Brandon and Teresa stayed in town. That even though they got Carly, they stayed in Michigan for 30 days because legally they couldn't take Carly because legally they weren't her parents yet. So they had to stay in town for 30 days. They had a court date. They all went before a judge. And when they got there, this person was like, hey, I'm your guardian ad litem. I'm going to be speaking on your behalf today at court. And however, from my understanding, this guardian ad litem did not really say, listen, you're relinquishing your rights, which means they are her parents and you have absolutely no say so at all, none whatsoever. I know you signed for an open adoption, but they do not have to adhere to that. They could never speak to you again after this. Are you aware of that? From my understanding, the guardian ad litem, like they went in, guardian ad litem, rushed up, hey, speak on their behalf. Yep, they're aware. Okay, and everything was signed off on. The judge asked if anybody like objected, and Butch and April stood up and was like, we object, we're the grandparents, we would like to keep the baby. And the judge was like, don't think so. And everything was signed off and they were like rushed out. So they got a guardian ad litem, but it was somebody they literally like met that day, stood there with them for court, but did not really explain what was really happening to them. But they thought they knew already. They thought they knew what was happening because Dawn had explained to them, oh, you're going to be in an open adoption. You're going to be able to send letters, send them to my office. You can send gifts to my office. However, that did not happen. In this interview, or it was at the other interview, she said at first things did go through the adoption agency, but that was changed because it was everybody was fine with it changing. So Caitlin said she sees a lot of people saying you shouldn't send stuff to their house. She said she was given permission to years ago. Yes, they first started sending stuff through Dawn and that's how they went about it. But throughout time, Teresa and Brandon were okay with them sending things to the house. So that's how she was that's how we got their address. They gave it to us. We didn't know their address. They told us we could start sending things to the house. And so that's what we did, because we were given permission to. But then, now they don't want them to, so they have stopped that. And she said she was sending things every few weeks or whatever. She sent flowers or chocolate or something. And she says, she talks about the blanket. She says the blanket was not a blanket that just had Nova, Veda, and Rhea's picture. It was a blanket that had a picture of Carly with the other girls. It was a picture of Carly from one of the visits where she was holding, I think she said she was holding Rhea and Veda, and Nova was in the picture. They all took a picture together. So she had that made into a blanket and she sent that to Carly because it was something that Carly liked the picture. So she thought it'd be cool to put it on a blanket and send it. She also talks about them calling each other sisters. So I'll back that up because I thought that was interesting too. But I'm not going to play the whole video because there's 2 interviews that she has that I thought just have a lot of good information in it that I thought were very interesting. And I'm actually shocked. Y'all, this interview has been up for 8 days and it don't even have 1,000 views on it. I don't know if people are just not seeing it, not coming across it. More than likely, YouTube's not putting it out there in the algorithm. But here I am talking about it, and we got 700 people in here today. And so I think YouTube's not promoting this video because it's a very interesting video. And this girl has 2 interviews with Kate on her platform. So here's what she talks about the sisters situation.
Issue for Brandon and Teresa.
Yeah, just from the last visit that we had.
So she asked, is the word sisters an issue with Brandon and Teresa? And she says yes, but just from the last visit.
You know, she calls us her birth mom, Ty's her birth dad, but normally she just calls us like Kate and Ty. And the very first time that Carly and Nova ever met, like Carly ran out of the car and she was like, oh, my sister. And so I just thought like they obviously had the conversation. Like Carly wouldn't be calling them or calling her sisters if that wasn't okay for their family.
Right.
So for years, I mean, Nova's 10 now. We have never changed that. And then I guess the visit that we saw them like 2 years ago now, Teresa even said, like, I don't know if it's just a me thing, but the word sister is really bugging me. And I was like, yeah, that's a you thing. Like, I thought it was normal because it's always just how it's been and nobody's ever corrected anybody.
Well, and they're kids. So what does it matter? Like,
yeah, I don't really know. And I think people have it confused. Like people keep on saying like, oh, it was only supposed to be open for 5 years, yada, yada, yada. Well, Ray, I know that you can vouch for me too, because I sent it all to you yesterday, that what I found for my case notes and everything, that is not what we agreed upon. We agreed upon a certain picture for.
Oh, sorry. I was reading the comments. Oh, we've listened to that part before, but she has 2 videos of doing interviews with Catelynn that I never heard about this. You know, I'd always heard open adoption, a yearly visit. Then we saw that clip of Dawn presenting them with this contract that there was something about year 5. And then I remember like hearing everybody say like, oh, it was supposed to be cut off after 5 years. And I was like, well, then why didn't it go on until she was like almost 15? If, you know, I don't know, but I went back and I looked at the contract to see like what does the contract state? So let's look at a picture of the contract real quick. This is the one that Dawn presented them with. Let's see. My computer's acting funny. Yeah, click that one. All right. You guys might not be able to read it, but it says, this openness agreement is made between Catelynn and Tyler and Brandon and Teresa with regards to Carly, who was born 5/18/2009. We agree to participate in the following type of ongoing communication for the benefit of Carly and ourselves. It says communication. Brandon and Teresa agree to send pictures and an updated letter every 3 months for the first year and 2 times a year thereafter for 18 years. Now, Catelynn says this is the initial agreement that they signed when she was still pregnant. So even in that one, she's saying they were requesting a photo and an updated letter every 3 months for the first year and then 2 times a year until she was 18. Catelynn and Tyler would like to send birthday and Christmas gifts to Carly. Catelynn and Tyler are requesting a DVD recording of Carly's birthdays through the age of 5 years old. They would also like to specifically request a photo of Carly alone at each birthday through the age of 18. Exchange of these items will take place at Bethany Christian Services, Madison Heights location. Catelynn and Tyler will respond to updates and letters written to them. Catelynn and Tyler will provide childhood photos of themselves and current photos. Catelynn and Tyler may request visits with the adoptive family in the future to be initiated by Catelynn and Tyler at the discretion of the adoptive family as they determine what is in the best interest of Carly. Both parties agreed to inform Bethany Christian Services of significant events occurring in life, such as serious illness or death, and also agree to keep Bethany Christian Services informed of their current address. I understand that this is not a legally binding agreement. So that's the first part of it. And now she's saying this is not their final agreement, that this was their first agreement, that their final agreement contained much more, is what she's saying. Let me see. All right. Once again, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it says, I will write a letter to the baby. Yes. I will respond to letters written by the family. Yes. I will send current pictures of myself. Yes. I can provide childhood pictures of myself. Yes. I have other children and I'm willing to provide pictures of them. NA, because they didn't have other kids at the time. I would like to send a gift for birthday, Christmas, first year, 3, 6, 9, 12 months. So that's for birthdays and Christmas. And then for 3, 6, 9, and 12 months, I guess a gift when she turns 3 months, a gift when she turns 6 months, a gift when she turns 9 months, a gift when she turns 12 months. And then obviously, well, that's a year. And then Christmas. I would like to receive pictures letters 2 times per year for 18 years. I would like to know the name they choose for the baby. I would like to visit the family and the baby, amount of times negotiable, once while baby. So this was when, according to Caitlin, she's saying this was the first contract that they had, that this was later changed to everything basically being 18 years, that they get annual visits until she's 18, gifts and letters and all this until she was 18. So why can B&T do interviews about adopting Carly, but Kate and Ty can't? Let's see. Yeah, that's been my thing is like, I'm like, I couldn't imagine going through this because I got pregnant at 17, had my child at 18, and I would have been probably just as naive. I never even considered adoption because I have like my mom's like very supportive and his parents really supportive. So I never considered it. But had I ever had to consider it, if I ever had to, if I went into an adoption agency and sat down and said, listen, I just can't take care of my child. My mom's abusive. She's moved me 15 times in the past 16 years. She's an alcoholic, and my stepdad is my boyfriend's dad, and he's in and out of prison. So our house is chaotic. They smoke nonstop, like chain smokers, and I just can't bring a baby home to that. I can't provide for a child financially. I can't do that. If that adoption, if she would have said, if the adoption counselor would have said this will look the way that you want it to look, you can have an open adoption and you can see the child as like you can see the child one time a year. I even saw comments where this one lady said that they had in their agreement 4 times a year. You know, Sarah, can you post it again because I don't see it? But if I would have been told, listen, you drive the bus to your adoption, you can outline what you want with this, I might would have been more prone to do it versus if I would have been told the truth. Listen, you are signing your rights away. You are relinquishing your rights as a parent completely. So while you may ask for visits and pictures and be able to send gifts and all that, if once the people that adopt your child sign that paperwork, if they want to cut you off, they can. They can, and there's nothing you can do about it because you gave up your rights. I would literally walk out of that place so freaking fast versus if I'm told, oh, you can, you can ask for visits and you can do an open adoption and you can do, I would have been like, oh, well, maybe, okay. I would have been, just the option would have been there versus if I would have been told the truth. You know what I'm saying? That's why I feel like Dawn kind of screwed everybody in this situation. All right, we've been going for almost an hour. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yes, H. And they did ask Caitlin, what about Tyler's mom? Like, did Tyler's mom read the adoption paperwork? And she said no, that she was like, I have a lot of love for Tyler's mom. She was there for me so many times. Like in the middle of the night, I called her upset, like she was there for me. She said, but she has a lot of regret as well. She said Tyler's mom has a lot of regret for not stepping up and being there during these visits and reading over the paperwork that they signed. So yeah, I have the channel linked. I also have that particular interview linked. There's 2 interviews. One is a little bit longer, but this one's like 30 minutes. Like I said, I don't want to watch all of it, but go subscribe to the channel, watch the interview, leave me your thoughts about it, because I definitely feel like Dawn misled them. I do feel like, though, at the end of the day, I feel like when we're parents, we have to figure out if us speaking about something, how it could affect our children. And just at the possibility that this is something that's hurting Carly, that is embarrassing Carly, that has Carly upset, that if Carly's like, I don't like the way, the things that they're saying that could make my mom and dad look bad, they could turn the Teen Mom fandom people against my mom and dad. So while I love Kate and Ty, I'm upset that they keep talking about this because now they have a lot of people mad at my parents. Like, just the possibility that that could happen, I might would just say, you know what, I'm just gonna not speak until I know how Carly feels about this. So once Carly turns 18 and she comes to me and she says, I don't care if you talk about it, talk about it all you want. It's your experience as well. Then I would go from there. But if Carly came to me and said, I don't want you talking about it. Like, it affects me. It hurts me. It hurts my parents, the people that were there for me, the people that loved me, the people that raised me. Then I would say, well, okay. There's things that go on in my life that I want to share with like some of my closest YouTube people, but it involves my kids. So I'm like, no, like on account of them. And, they don't want their lives out there. So, I don't talk about certain things. Anyways, you guys, so I'm gonna read a few comments in the chat and then we'll end this because we're going on literally an hour. Oh yeah, they are. That's the thing, is they are currently talking to not just one adoptee, they talk to several adoptees. They talk to a lot of adoptees who encourage them. Teresa literally said on film she's worried Carly would prefer her bio parents. They should adopt Amber. I know that's right. Somebody needs to. They need to respect wishes and back off because they're making it worse. That's my fear, is if it's making her life worse. It's a bunch of made for TV viewing at this point. What's really going on with that poor child? I got pregnant at 15. My child is a nurse, so you can do it without your parents. I didn't have parents. Wow, thank you, a sky full of stars. Thank you, thank you. Honestly, that's huge, Shirley, that you were able to do it without your parents, because I got pregnant at 17 and I couldn't have. I had my mom. I lived at my mom's house. My mom worked and I stayed at home. I had to finish school. I don't know how anybody could do it without some sort of support system. So the fact that you did, that's a huge accomplishment and you should pat yourself on the back for that, really. The adopted parents preyed on them. MTV documentation of the story are Dawn doing their thing. They adopted a child that was up for adoption. Not being in their shoes, though, we don't know. Oh, yeah. MTV is probably waiting to jump as soon as Carly turns 18, for sure. Thank you, guys. I had a great birthday yesterday. Oh. Yeah, and I see a lot of people saying that, like, Kate and Ty were 16 and they made this big life-changing decision. Carly is about to be 16. Like, so will they allow her to make the decision? Is this her decision? But I also do feel like, because a part of me at first, it was my birthday yesterday. Part of me first felt like my mind has changed so much, all over the place with this. I felt this way, and then I felt this way, and then I felt that way, and then I felt this way, and then I heard this, and I felt this way. But at first I felt like, if this is Carly's decision, if Carly wants nothing to do with them, they need to tell Brandon and they need to tell Kate and Ty that. They need to say, listen, it is Carly. She don't want to talk to y'all. Leave her alone. They say they will. So if it's her, tell them. But then I'm like, no. Because maybe Carly's like, I don't want anything to do with them, but I don't want them to know that it's me. And then they're protecting her by doing that. There's times that my kids will be like, my friend so-and-so wants me to stay the night. I don't want to stay, Mama. I don't want to stay. Tell them I can't, So I take the brunt, like, no, you can't stay. Sorry. Mama, please. Sorry. No, you're not staying. You didn't clean your room. You're not staying. You know what I'm saying? So as parents, sometimes we take the fall for things that our kids really want, So maybe it's something like that. There is a bigger part of me that, I'll just be honest with you guys. There's a big part of me that doesn't think that it's Carly, just because of how much when they were like what we did see the interaction with Carly back when she was little, how much she just loved being around them. And when they opened the book, that one time when they sent a video and they opened the book, she was like, Tata, Kate. Like she did seem to really like them. And then the one time where they did a FaceTime call with her, and afterwards, they talked about how Carly was asking to come do a sleepover at their house. And Kate was like, yeah, I don't, we'll have to see. And then she talked to cameras about it. She was like, I would love for her to come for a sleepover, but I know her parents are not going to go for that. And I could never even tell her it's a possibility without talking to Brandon and Teresa about that. So part of me is like, oh, I don't know. Like I feel like she was really into like Kate and Ty and Nova and them. So part of me is like, do I think it's her? Probably not. And we don't know what's going on. Kids, when they're 15 years old, they may get, if she's getting in trouble, is she yelling at them? You're not my parents anyway. It's like, we don't know. Have they raised her to where, maybe, I'm not saying she's a bad kid, but you know how, oh my gosh, I got a stepdad. And there were times he might have said something to me and I'm like, you're not my dad. You know what I'm saying? I mumbled it under my breath. But then, like, if she has uttered that at all, does that have them scared? Like, oh my God, like, we can't even get on to her without her saying something like that. Is she going to go running to them next time we get on to her? Is she going to be trying to reach out to them just because we're trying to raise her the way that we see fit? And a lot of times parents will really be trying to do the best that they can and raise their kids to be great kids, but kids don't understand why they have these rules and they want to go live with their dad or their grandparents because they don't understand why mom is being so mean. And really, mom is not being so mean. Mom is just trying to raise you to be a good, productive member of society that has morals and values. And the kid don't see it because they're a kid, So hey, I'm gonna live. I'll be out in just a second. No, it's okay. Um, so yeah. No, was always happy to visit Carly, and now parents all see each other. These girls are the ones hurting. I do wonder, go play. Hey. Oh, thank you, Ocean. I try to see all sides. I try to just kind of think about all of it. And it can be hard because sometimes I'll lean one way and then I may hear something else and I may lean another way, But I think all of our opinions are fine to have. And I hate when I see people like getting into it over it, But anyways, you guys, leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. Go watch the full video if you guys want to, and follow that creator because she has like a direct line of communication with Caitlin. So maybe at some point Caitlin will will put out that contract that they signed, the last one they signed. I don't know if she ever will, but maybe, I'm not sure. But that creator does have like an open line of communication and tag Kate on twice. And this one, and then there's another one up there on her page. So go check her out, linked in the description. Make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up on your way out. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, please do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button, as I am trying to get to 100,000 subscribers. And here's the creator. Oh, right here. It's Ray right here. I had a hard time finding her, but when I did find her, that's why I grabbed her link. So if you look in my description box, it's linked. It'll say like something video and it's linked. Well, that creator has seen it. So Kate actually sent a copy of it to this creator and she has seen this contract. So I don't know if Kate's ever going to put it out, but I'd like to see it just because, Anyways, you guys, like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys. I will be doing at least one more live today. Bye, guys.